Floaty Goaty Lore, Volume 2, Chapter 10, My Singing Monsters, Universe of Dimensions. The monster world is in a completely different universe from Floaty Goaty's, so we will have to find out how to get the rest of the gang to the multiverse. We already know Floaty Goaty and Hashi are capable of going to the multiverse, but not the rest of the gang. Floaty Goaty knew that because the monster world is in a completely different universe, none of the damage Floaty Goaty has done to the epic ball boxes would carry over to their home world. But why would they even want to go there in the first place? Well, it all started on Ethereal Island. The single-element Ethereals were experimenting with interdimensional traveling when Humbug discovered time travel. Humbug decided it would be fun to take the single-element Ethereals on a trip back in time to the Dawn of Fire. Little did Humbug know this journey would cause a whole new universe to be discovered, the universe of dimensions. That Humbug would not only discover the new universe, but also discover a whole line of dimensions that hold hundreds of islands waiting to be filled with monsters. The Ethereals made their way to the Dawn of Fire through a portal in time, and they found themselves at the continent. Just a few seconds later, their portal turned into a passage to the new universe, and started suctioning monsters in. All of the monsters from the continent got sucked in and entered their new universe. In the new universe, they all landed on the first new island, called Elemental Sanctuary. The Ethereals trained the young monsters to grow up and become adults without having to be fed. The now adult monsters found out that they could combine breeding combinations never seen before to create monsters like Ethereals only seen in present-day My Singing Monsters. These monsters had gone undiscovered for years, but the portal closed and they were stuck there forever. Until one day, when Gas discovered a link in dimensions from Elemental Sanctuary to the portal hub. He sent some monsters through and discovered a whole hub world with dimensions of all types. That's where Floaty Goaty comes in. He entered the universe of dimensions after Ohio Final Boss was killed, in search of something to make the gang stronger. He was sucked into the portal on Ethereal Island that Humbug brought the Ethereals into. He was sucked into the portal hub through a series of portals, and he discovered that amongst all the blue portals, one was red. He hesitated at first, but he toughened up and went in. It led him to Seasonal Island. Everything seemed normal until he listened closely to the song and realized that it was distorted. This was the start of a plague that could spread across the whole monster world. Floaty Goaty panicked and boarded up the entrance to the portal. Any monster that came through the portal hub could no longer get to Seasonal Island. Many seasonal monsters that were not yet infected tried to take down the sign, but Floaty Goaty explained to them what had happened there. He headed back to his universe to get the rest of the gang. On the way, he picked up the Ethereals to bring back with him, as they knew most about the topic. When they arrived at his home dimension, he gathered up the gang and studied inter-universal travel with the Ethereals. Gast found out that the gang needed some sort of wormhole to travel between universes. Luckily, Rebro, being the mech-ethereal, was a mechanical engineer who had been working on a wormhole-based traveling for a while, and he had designed a wormhole-based rocket that could penetrate universes and get everyone to the monster world. He assembled the rocket piece by piece and added an extra seating capsule to the side that would be able to fit everyone. So the leaders said goodbye to their armies and set off to the monster world. The trip took a few days because the ship had been quite heavy, but eventually, everyone was carried over to Ethereal Island. Humbug opened up his portal and the entire ship traveled over to the Elemental Sanctuary. They entered the portal leading to the portal hub, and Floaty Goaty's barricade was gone. This was bad. Floaty Goaty covered it up again, but it was too late. There was already a smoochel that had managed to escape with the disease. Before Floaty Goaty could catch it, it had already gotten to the portal and escaped to Dimensional Dream. It infected everyone there. A plague was spreading across the monster world. All of the infected monsters came back into the portal hub, looking to infect every monster ever. Floaty Goaty quickly surrounded the Ethereals with a force field that protects them from being infected. A Tuskski from Dimensional Dream tried to affect Floaty Goaty, but only My Singing Monsters could be affected. Floaty Goaty decided that Elemental Sanctuary would be the best to cover because it holds the portal back to the Dawn of Fire and the present-day monster world, so he barricaded it with tough metal. While he was covering it, a group of infected monsters had infected the next two islands. This continued until the group of infected monsters was so big that Floaty Goaty could not stop them before they got to the next island. They continued until every monster was infected. Floaty Goaty had to fight off the group so they couldn't get to the Ethereal's force field open. He tried attacking one, but they can't die, so he would just need to find their weakness and disinfect them. But it was too late. Humbug screamed to Floaty Goaty, "Hurry, their weakness is what..." And then he got infected. Floaty Goaty thought of all the things that started with W that he could get them disinfected, and the most likely option was water. Floaty Goaty swooped down and grabbed some out of the aquatic arena and splashed some on the infected monsters. It worked. They were disinfected, but they instantly were reinfected because of all the other infected monsters around them. Floaty Goaty knew that there had to be a bigger water source around here somewhere. But that's when a Tuskski used its big tusks to launch the entire gang through Floaty Goaty's metal barricade and back to the Dawn of Fire. The plague has gone back in time. Since the humbug had found this new world, more baby monsters had appeared on the continent. Floaty Goaty was not going to let these monsters get infected. In this world, you feed a monster a lot of food, it grows into an adult. Floaty Goaty creates a feast with all kinds of foods to turn all the baby monsters into adults. After that, he gathered up the breeding combination for Rebro and powered the breeding structure with diamonds, speeding it up. When Rebro hatched, Floaty Goaty brought it to the feast and fed it lots of food until it grew into an adult. Floaty Goaty sent the rest of the gang to explain to the uninfected monsters what was happening. He then explained to Rebro that it needed to tilt the portal entryway downwards towards the water so that when the infected monsters came through, they would fall into the water and get disinfected. Rebro said that it had an idea, so it flew over to the portal, created a large hammer, and struck it on the side so that it was facing directly into the water. Just when it had finished, monsters started flooding in. They all fell into the water one by one and became normal again. But there was still one problem. The disease was gone, but every monster from the universe of dimensions was now in the Dawn of Fire. Floaty Goaty told Tuskski to launch everyone back through the portal, so it used its huge tusks to do so. Floaty Goaty then spawned a platform just under the portal and teleported Tuskski to it so it could get in too. It jumped in the portal, and Floaty Goaty flew back to the portal hub with the gang. Just before Tuskski headed back to the Dimensional Dream, Floaty Goaty said that the gang needed a ride back. Tuskski gladly helped out, but the trajectory of the launch was off. The gang was launched into the Dawn of Fire, back into Ethereal Island, but they landed in the head of Zero. They ended up in Ethereal Workshop, where they were met by the Workshop monsters and Karen. They were having a party. Floaty Goaty said that unfortunately it was time for Karen to head back to their world, so they boarded Rebro's rocket and headed back. Before heading off on his next adventure, he grabbed a piece of Rebro's rocket and added it to his weapon.